Hello, my YouTube world! Since my students are sweating over finals and final research papers, I just do not have the heart to give them more work. So I decided to give my YouTube viewers some homework assignments this week. Bear with me, I'll explain in just a moment. New York City is home to some of the most iconic movie scenes in history. And so I thought that this week I will do something different. I will take you to 3 locations where very famous scenes were filmed. Oh, there is lots of places like that, but the 3 I have chosen for this video focus on really sort of these classic movies. And they are Saturday Night Fever, Goodfellas, and The Godfather. So here's my homework assignment. If you have not watched these movies, well, try and do so because they are a must. So first up is Saturday Night Fever from 1977, starring John Travolta. This, what you are seeing now, comes from the opening scene of the movie, as Tony, played by John Travolta, is walking down the streets to the song by Bee Gees, Staying Alive, probably one of the most iconic openings to a movie, especially about New York. Everything is there. Great, confident character, good music in the background, 2 slices of pizza stuffed quickly into the mouth, subway rolling above, and the busy city streets. What else can you ask for in an opening scene? It was filmed on 86th Street in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. So watch it, rewatch it, and you will see that the opening scene is right here with that subway turn in the back. Well, 47 years later, this is how the street looks like. Not only that, this here used to be the Benson Theater, which opened in 1922. Then it became Benson Twins when it was split into 2. But nevertheless, this was an open movie theater when Saturday Night Fever came out. So think about how interesting this probably had to be to some people watching the movie. As the movie is beginning, the song is playing in the background, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, that is the street I am on right now, sitting here. I don't know, honestly, I do not even know if the movie was played here, but I'm guessing it was. And if it was, it had to create a moment of excitement. I mean, come on, I know I would be excited. Many movies are filmed in New York City, and honestly, if I see Manhattan or Empire State Building or something of that nature in the movie, it really doesn't excite me. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm used to it by now, but seeing a scene from a movie somewhere in the streets of Queens or Brooklyn or even more, my neighborhood, now that is more exciting. So maybe this is how some moviegoers felt like watching this scene in 1977 from this theater here. Okay, now let's travel forward in time to 1990. When the movie Goodfellas came out. I grew up on movies like this, hence maybe my tendency for sarcasm and dark humor, but there is a scene in the movie where Harry, played by Ray Liotta, and James, played by Robert De Niro, find out that Tommy, Joe Pesci's character, was killed. I mean, whacked. That diner is here in Maspeth, Queens. After the movie was filmed here, it was renamed Goodfellas Diner. But you still see here, it was called Clinton Diner before that. James finds out about the death of Tommy from a telephone booth, which was placed somewhere here. As you see, the restaurant is now closed after it was heavily damaged by a fire in 2018, which I really vaguely remember, as just a few months before I moved into Queens from Brooklyn, and I live not really that far away from here. But too bad I never got the chance to actually go inside and experience the diner firsthand. But the building itself is pretty interesting. As you see, it has that 1950s, but really 60s vibe to it. After all, this was the space age, and many diners had these space-like futuristic designs to them. Around the city you can still see some of them, and it's a pretty good topic maybe for a future video. But the diner itself is located in a really industrial area of Mesquite. On one side is factories and businesses, while on the other it's a little bit of a mixture of residential homes and industrial buildings. However, as you go further away, really just by maybe 3 or 4 streets, it's mostly 1 to 2 family homes, which these days are quite expensive here. That is one of the reasons I love this city, because you have so much diversity, sometimes not just between neighborhoods, but within one neighborhood itself. I can show you one side of Mesquite and you would think to yourself, ooh, that doesn't look like a place where I would want to raise my family. While I can show you the exact same neighborhood from like a different perspective, maybe 10 streets away, and you would think to yourself, wow, that is nice. Look at those lovely homes. And that is why you always need to be careful with information and videos which are presented to you. I can make the same neighborhood look really fancy, or I could make it like a place you would want to avoid. And it all really depends on which streets and buildings I choose to show you. But near the diner is also something interesting. There you see a marker. And let me zoom out for you to see how close it is to the diner itself. DeWitt Clinton held many positions, among which was a governor of New York and a major figure behind the planning and building of the Erie Canal, which opened in 1825. The canal really changed America as it allowed for a faster growth of the Midwest, cities like Chicago, for example, by connecting them through the canal, not just to New York City, but really to the world. As ships now traveling from Europe, let's say, could have gone all the way up to Midwest to trade and do business using the canal itself. But in general, this part of neighborhood is, again, really industrial, and it is near Newtown Creek that I did a video on a few weeks ago. We have some train tracks going through here, but let me show you the older buildings on the other side. And to do that, we have to go through here. Yep, just like I suspected. The smell of urine does not disappoint my expectations. Okay, good. Go up the stairs in one piece, it's a good day. And when we are on the other side, I know it looks like a rundown place, but all jokes aside, many of these buildings are for sale and new businesses are moving in. Amazon has, for example, built a gigantic center for themselves not far away from here. And so with every new owner, you see some renovations and modernization. Now, I'm not saying that this will be a beautiful place anytime soon, but given some time, it's moving in the right direction. I think one thing that really benefits this area is its locations, with a fairly good connection to major highways, and in general, fairly easy access to other boroughs like Manhattan or Brooklyn. Okay, let's do our last location, Cavalry Cemetery in Woodside. I think Woodside. It is a bit weird one because you have few neighborhoods meeting here like Long Island City, Woodside, Sunnyside, and Mesquite. And the cemetery stretches through more than one of them. Now, with this one, we are traveling back to 1972 with the release of The Godfather, an all-time classic movie. There is a scene with the burial of Vito Corleone. We are here now, 52 years later. Now that I'm putting this video together, I am really kicking myself in the butt because even though I know this cemetery fairly well, it took me like an hour to find the exact spot. And I walked past it like 6 times before realizing I was really like a circling shark being burned in the sun. But the reason for it is that in my head, I took this grave here in the back as my reference point. And then I realized that the grave was facing the opposite direction in the movie. I have no idea why they turned the grave around in the movie, but in reality, it's facing towards the street, like all the other graves here. But in the movie, it was facing away from the street and the mausoleums in the back. Now, if I rewatch the scene while in the cemetery, it would probably click in faster for me, but my phone was like on 20% battery and I still wanted to record few places, so I didn't want to use my phone. And so the headstone was really sort of the reason why it threw me off for a while. But I finally found it. Here it is. You know, it's kind of weird that I am standing in the same spot as people like Al Pacino was many years ago. I know it's weird. In New York City, you constantly walk by or you live near various sites where over the years famous people were or iconic movies were filmed, like The Godfather. But here in a cemetery, on a Saturday morning, walking among the dead, it kind of hits you in a different way. But in the movie, in the background, you see the older Kosciuszko Bridge, which today is replaced by the newer one. I did a video on that. And there are also two huge gas tanks which no longer exist. So in the future, I will show you the location of them as well and talk a little bit about the history. Now, this cemetery is really big and there is much to talk about. Like even the fact that you really have nice views of the city, to be honest. There is Lower Manhattan with the Freedom Tower. And a little bit to the right is Midtown with our Empire State Building. But let me show you two interesting places near the filming site of The Godfather. First, Soldiers Monument. This monument honors the Union soldiers who died fighting in the American Civil War from 1861 to 65. The top figure represents peace. And surrounding the monument are four almost like lifelike Union soldiers. The interesting thing about this is that even though it is located inside of the cemetery, this small piece of land belongs to the city of New York. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Parks Department is responsible for it. As you see, it is missing some details, and in general, it looks like in need of repairs and really a restoration, especially the fence around it, but it still looks nice. There in the distance is our Soldiers Monument. But here, surrounded by a fence, we have headstones which are even older than the cemetery itself. This cemetery opened in 1848, but here we have the graves of the Alsop family, which predates the cemetery. Before the cemetery opened, some of these lands were owned by the first settlers in the city, and here some of these graves have dates of like 1777, 1772, 64, and the oldest one that I could have read the date from was the year 1718, so 306 years ago. Now, some of these might be even older than that, but the words have faded away, and some might actually not have any writing on them whatsoever. It's hard to tell. But few cemeteries have headstones such as these, where they actually predate the cemetery itself. So it really becomes an interesting area to explore. So these were just 3 locations I've chosen for this video, but of course, this channel alone could be exploring New York like this, so much more to come. If you liked the video, please remember to like, subscribe, send it to your boss, play it for your 5-year-old to put them to sleep. Look, any support I get, I am happy with. But until next time, stay safe out there, and I will see you soon.